Hello, I'm Christina, an artist and illustrator, and today we're coloring a cute ghost page that you all voted for. This ghost is watching TV, and we're going to make it look like the TV light is hitting the ghost and he's sitting in a dark room. First of all, we'll start by choosing what parts of the page are light and dark, and I'm using a ruler to draw the line that is the TV light border. The angle of these lines are up to you, and I'll explain why I chose where to put my lines as we move along. To make it look like this ghost is in a dark room, we'll have dark areas of dark color and lighter areas with lighter colors. You'll see that in a moment. Now, don't do what I did and miss this crucial step. If you'd like to try to replicate a TV light falling on this ghost, you'll need to grab a light blue marker, and I'll list all the colors I used down below, and follow the highlight lines with this blue marker. Now you'll see I missed this part as I was filming this page, but I wanted to keep it in and show you how I correct this mistake with acrylic markers. So you'll get to see this page both using this method, which I prefer, using the blue alcohol marker, but you'll also see me fix my page with an acrylic marker. Once we're done adding highlights to all the areas the TV light will hit, we can move on to coloring in the walls. You'll need a dark and a light color. I'm using a green-gray, and I'm starting with the lighter areas, coloring in just below that line I drew. Now this is a few steps away, but we're also going to need one shade lighter than this light shade that we're coloring in now, because our ghost is going to be transparent, and we're going to need a lighter color to go behind the ghost's head. This is the way I would choose to color a transparent ghost, but you can do it a different way. If you don't have three similar shades, a dark, medium, and light, you could also use a white colored pencil on your ghost. But for this example, I'm going to show you this way. Before I move on to the darker area of the walls, I'm going to let this area dry. Since the two colors will touch, I don't want them to bleed together. I'm going to move on to the couch with two shades of purple, a lighter and a darker. They aren't exactly the same colors, but I think the effect will still work. I tested them out. So I'm using this Signal Plummy Purple for the couch, and I'll have a darker, more blue purple right under where this line is, and I think they look pretty good together even though they don't match exactly. We are ready to move on to the ghost, and since he's transparent, I need to draw what's behind him. This will be pretty easy because it's just a couch and a curtain, and the couch line does not have to be perfectly straight. And the little area right above that, the corner of the curtain, does not have to be straight either. We will be going over these lines with marker later, but I like to color them in first. As I mentioned before, this color of gray is one step lighter than the color of the wall surrounding the ghost. Since our first colored area is dry, we can go back with our darkest green-gray and color in this side of the wall that doesn't get hit by any light. And now that the couch color is dry, we can go in with our darker shade of purple. We're moving back to our ghost and choosing a purple that's one step lighter than the couch color, again to make the ghost look like it's a transparent blob sitting down watching his favorite TV show. We'll be using the same method of darker and lighter colors all across the page wherever that line hits. I specifically didn't want the line to hit the lamp in the top left-hand corner of the page because I only wanted to worry about one set of colors for the lamp. And I specifically left the lamp dark because my ghost decided to turn it off while he was watching TV. But of course you don't have to do what I do. Feel free to experiment with the different lighting scenarios on this page. You may have seen other ways of coloring in a page like this, specifically with a TV light. I've seen many of them use a neutral gray to color under or over the darker areas of the page. I've tried this before. I prefer coloring the gray underneath the main color that you're using. Be careful if you try this method using the gray over colors that you've already colored, because certain light grays can act like colorless blenders and lift up the color underneath, and I wouldn't want you to ruin your page. As usual, one of my biggest challenges when coloring is choosing colors. I chose a cool green for this book because I use this green in the hanging flowers and in the picture frame near the lamp. I always try to use a color at least more than once in a page to give it a little bit more unity. I wouldn't want to color that book a fluorescent yellow, for example, because that color doesn't exist anywhere else on the page. Now, if I wanted your eye to go directly to that book, maybe I would color it a crazy color just because I want you to look at it right away. If you stick around to the end, I'll show you my first attempt at this page, the one where I actually colored in the TV highlights with alcohol marker like I was supposed to here. But you'll see how just slight variations of color and effects can really move your eye around the page in different ways. I chose a deep burgundy and peony color for the popcorn tub, and you'll see I also repeat the darker color in the flowers on the left-hand side of the page. I decided to color the ghost's mug this dark terracotta color, but in the end I wish it was a little lighter. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now that the ghost is fully dry, we'll darken the line separating the couch and the wall behind his head. I like to wait till I add the color first because I find that the marker bleeds just a little bit less. Now it's time to add in those highlights that I missed earlier. I chose a light sky blue acrylic marker that comes as close as it can to matching that alcohol marker. I'm using the same technique, I'm just hitting the spots that the TV light would hit. It's basically the same technique I use on other pages. If you pretend the TV was a sun, I would use a yellow acrylic marker to color in these areas. The reason I prefer alcohol marker for these highlights is they are much more vibrant than the acrylic marker. You'll see in a moment that I add a very thin white gel pen line just to make these blue colors pop. But again, if you get halfway through your page and realize you forgot to color in your highlights, having an acrylic marker is a great way to save your page. I also like coloring around the TV just so you know where this blue light is coming from. If you decide to color in this page, let me know what colors you use. Do you go traditional Halloween or did you choose something else? I was kind of stuck, so I chose purples and oranges, but I'd love to know what everyone else did. It's time for the shadows, and I want to make mine dramatic, so I'm drawing them in a bit thickly behind the ghost. Instead of using the same color that I colored the couch, I'm using that darker color, the same one that I used on the bottom of the couch, to color in these shadows, and I'm making them thick and dramatic so that it seems like the TV is throwing a long cast shadow behind the ghost. I'd love to know what your favorite fall or spooky movie is. Mine is probably Coraline, the animated stop-motion movie. but I also love some other scary things that I watch on Netflix. And if you have any recommendations, I'd love to hear them. Now that we're done with the shadow behind the ghost, let's add the shadow on the right side of the ghost, the darker side, just to give him a little bit more dimension. On his body, I'm using the same color to make it a subtle shadow, and I'll use that behind the cup and underneath his arms. When you move on to his head and right over the curtain, be sure to switch colors. I'm adding thicker shadows to anything that's being hit by the light from the TV, but I'm also adding more subtle shadows to show when an object is in front of another object. For example, on this purple pillow, behind it is the thicker, longer shadow, but I also added a subtle shadow on the left just to show it's in front of the orange pillow. Since this side table is kind of tucked beside this couch, the front of the side table is going to be lighter than the side. So I darken up the side a little bit with a slightly darker color. I'm doing the same thing with this coffee table, darkening the side of the table that's in the darkest shadows. Since this book is partially getting hit by the TV light, I'm using two different colors to color in the shadows. And I'm just repeating the colors that are below it. Since the portrait is getting hit by the TV light, I'm doing a longer, thicker cast shadow with a color slightly darker than the color of the wall. If any of these instructions aren't too clear, please let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to help you understand them. I'll be honest, I think some of my favorite pages in the Fall Favorites coloring book are these ghost pages. I tried not to go too overboard with the Halloween themed pages because after all, there's Thanksgiving and fall foliage and lots of yummy baked goods to look forward to in fall. But these are so cute and fun, I can't wait to color them all. I don't know about you, but it's so easy for me to overlook things that need shadows on pages, so I have to go back multiple times and remind myself, this is getting hit by the light, and this is getting hit by the light. Remember how I said these TV highlights are a little bit duller because I use the acrylic marker? Well, here I am going back with just a very thin line of gel pen to give these highlights a little bit more pizzazz, and I think it really does help. Finally, we're on to the special effects, and I'm starting with my quilt here. I didn't record all of the little additions that I added to this page because I spent so much time talking about the shadows and lighting. But this, of course, is one of my favorite things to do on a page. Add the patterns and little elements that only your imagination can dream up. Here is my ghost page all finished, and here are the little details. My favorite parts are the cute little spider with orange dots, the wood grain that I added with a very thin fine liner pen, and of course, the really dramatic shadows. And here is what my first attempt at this page looked like, with the bright blue highlights and a glitter mug and slightly different color choices. Let me know what you think and if you like one more than the other. I hope you had fun coloring with me today. Thank you for being here as always and watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon.